So this is putting you guys on the spot without even talking about it backstage before we come on. Are you Cincinnati chili fans? Do you partake in the Cincinnati chili tradition? Tim?
No. I
No.
don't.
Justin?
Being from here, I do partake in eating Cincinnati chili. There's a big divide between people
This is
that's
where I'm
from here
going.
knows Skyline
Skyline
and
or gold
Star.
medal? Take the new
Gold Star. Gold Star.
Gold Star.
That's
Excuse
what
me. Skyline or Gold Star? Take the new support for the Bengals out of the equation because it switched from Gold Star to
For sure.
Skyline this year.
For sure.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Who are you? What team are you on, Justin?
I'm always going to rock Skyline. That has always been
my
my
guy.
brand of chili.
See,
That was
I
always
haven't
been my
had
brand of
Skyline.
chili.
I haven't had
Here's the thing.
Skyline since I was in high school, so that's how long it's been since I've been home.
And it's
so.
more globally known nationwide that Skyline is the premier brand of Cincinnati chili. Gold Star is there too, but like here's the thing about Gold Star, and there's a lot of Gold Star fans in the city. However, I'll always attribute it to if you're a Gold Star chili fan, you're probably either from the west side of Cincinnati or you live in northern Kentucky because premier Cincinnati locals and residents of all across prefer Skyline. And that's maybe not a one size fits all kind of case, but that's tend to what I always find out when I'm talking about our chili to everybody across the region or the city.
Do you know where the most northern Skyline chili is?
I want to say there is some Skyline chilies that populated in Columbus, Ohio. I want to
Farther north.
say I was going to say I got to be a little bit further north. We probably got some footprint.
Lima.
I think we got
Really?
Lima.
Yep.
Lima. That
Lima,
does not
Ohio
shock
on
me.
309. I
Yeah,
actually
it's
know the owners. Remember the country club I used to run? Yeah. They're it's the farthest north. So when I go visit my mother, I can actually get my Skyline fixed. I go in there
Wow.
and get me my 4-way. Let's go.
and that's the awesome part. And the thing is, you don't see Gold Star in that way now, do you?
Nope. And I
That's
get
that's
that
my
hot
point exactly.
sauce. Coney dogs. My dad used to love Coney dogs. Things around. Oh.
Yeah.
All right, I'm hungry now. We got to start the show. All right, Cincinnati Bengals fans, thank you for rocking with us here on the Fans First Sports Network. We are running through the jungle. I'm your host, Brandon Herriott, with your host, Justin Lacey and Tim Lyons. What's going on, fellas?
What up?
Just talking some chili backstage, and to start to open up the show, and now I'm hungry too. So
There
I'm
it is.
ready
There
to
it
eat.
is. So this could be a quick episode. So go ahead and get those likes, subscribes if you're on audio only, likes if you're on YouTube, share us with a friend. Go ahead and get that started now because we could run through this very quickly because we got to get to some food now. I got pizza that needs eaten. So yeah, let's talk football now. Let's get off food. Let's get into football. Cincinnati Bengals, winners of 2 in a row, and looking pretty good on offense. We've definitely talked a lot on the reactions about running the ball and getting under center more, and how it looks a little bit different with Jake Browning, and basically how we thought that's what we were going to see more of, even with Joe Burrow. But I think that was kind of stunted because of the injury to the calf. Couldn't get him under center. Couldn't get the 7-step drop out of center. So it's kind of the evolution, I think, of what I thought the offense was supposed to look like from get-go. Justin, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, definitely. Honestly, it's what a hell of a roller coaster this ride this has been this season. And I know we came in here with expectation of obviously going back to the Super Bowl and finally winning it this time. The things didn't shake out in our favor with the Burrow calf injury. We had to go through that hurdle, but it felt like we were hitting our stride. And then unfortunately, he gets hurt and misses now the rest of the season. But I tell you, man, while we were all down in the dumps after it happened, man, the Bengals have righted the ship exactly how we thought that they should have done. They kind of exceeded expectations for the most part. We're seeing what Jake Browning is doing as what we've always wanted a backup quarterback to step in place of Joe Burrow to become, and he's been more. And I think that it's you can't really tip your cat enough to him of what he's been able to sort of muster up. The offense, to your point, it feels like that it's gone a lot smoother, not because Jake Browning is a better quarterback than Burrow by any means. We know this. There's only one Joe Burrow, but it's by the virtue of the coaching staff and the offensive coaching staff and Zach Taylor have tailored the specifics in the game plan. I'll actually give this referendum here. The 90s Bulls, when Phil Jackson was coaching, the reason why Doug Collins, the former head coach, was out and they put Phil Jackson in because he created the triangle offense. But the problem in the early parts of the triangle offense, what happened was because Jordan was resuscitating on passing the ball to teammates when he wanted the ball in his hands at critical moments during the juncture of their games. But once he finally understood that, then the triangle offense worked to perfection. Then everybody talks about the retirement year that Michael Jordan took after the '93 season. The triangle offense when Scottie Pippen led the helm that first season after Jordan had retired, it worked flawlessly, and it's not like because they had better players, it's just the system. They were able to run the system where they didn't really care who shot the ball last. It's sort of like what the Bengals are doing on offense. It's kinda like that. Now now there doesn't have to feel this angst of where there's gotta be this elevating pleasing of Joe Burrow and doing things that he only wants to do, even though we love it as fans, that you put the ball in his hands when the going gets tough and the tough gets going. Joe Burrow needs the ball in his hands. But these last two games, we're able to see Jake Browning just be unselfish, run the ball, whether if it's under center, whether if it's from shotgun, whether if it's from pistol, whether if it's a swing pass out the backfield, and it's stuff like that. The screen game, we all know about that. And honestly, that's what we've wanted Jake Browning to do, was just be himself. Don't try to fill Burrow's shoes. And the offense needs to be able to cater a specific game plan around him. And they've done both of that.
Yeah, well said. And it's not to the detriment of the passing game either. I mean, we're talking 350 yards, 275 yards. Like Jake Browning's had a lot of passing too. What it does to me, I mean, staying focused on the run game and having that good mix allows for more protection for Browning. They just can't pin their ears back and just go, flying upfield. And I think that Joe Burrow would also really benefit from that philosophy as well. So I'm hoping the coaches keep this philosophy moving forward. This is the way to me it should look. What are your thoughts, Tim?
I kind of question why we let Joe start when we knew he had a calf injury now. I know he's our franchise. But the what ifs now are going, was it a good idea to let Joe play those games with that calf injury? We'll never know. It is what it is. Um, but with what Jake's doing right now, I know the last two games he's had over 110 QB rating. The last two games he's actually showing promising. With the mixture of the offensive, or with the run in the pass and the play actions, it's been paying off really well. And like you've said, and we've said in the past, I hope they continue this even when Joe is back. If they don't continue this and we sit back in shotgun formation, we're going to fail eventually, because everybody knows how the Bengals and Zach Taylor likes to call the offense.
Mm-hmm.
We can't allow that to keep happening, of just shotgun formation. Let's pass the ball 88% of the time. Give up on the run after the first half. We can't do that. It just like I said last week, it's the fundamentals of football. I know I preach run the damn ball, and I'm going to keep preaching it. It's it's opening up things for Jake. It's not allowing these defenses to, like you say, pin their ear back and just go like rabid dogs.
Tee off. They just tee
Yeah.
off on us.
It was like I said, the obvious picture of it was when Jake came in against the Ravens. What did the Ravens do? They blitzed the hell out of us. Nothing we can do when they're sending 7, 8 guys.
Can't block
And
them.
you allow, like I always say, there's 1,000, 1,000 TJ Watts in your butt. So, if we mix it up, keep mixing it up, we'll be fine. And hopefully they continue this when Joe comes back next year, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, we've preached the philosophies enough, I think. Let's get into our matchup this week. We're playing Saturday afternoon. Kind of excited about that. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And college bowl games are starting. Kind of excited about that. Not gonna lie. So there's a lot going on. You can go over to Pay Dirt and find out where. Listen to our gambling picks and find out who we picked. Last week was one of our worst weeks this season of Pay Dirt, and we went 6-4-1. Yeah, I'm not going to say it until the end of the season because I believe in jinxes, and I'm not going to jinx ourselves. But we've been doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So check that out if you like to get your game on. But it's an interesting matchup. The Vikings are on their 4th quarterback of the season. They're dinged up all over the place. They've got a really odd defensive statistically. So you look at their defense, and their defense is ranked pretty high in rush defense and passing defense, but not high in scoring defense. They don't have that bend don't break. They just break when you get close. So some interesting things. So Tim, I'm going to shoot it over to you first. What do you see as a big opportunity here going into this Minnesota Vikings game?
Our biggest opportunity is going to be going up against Nick Mullen. Last week, I believe Josh Dobbs was sacked 5 times last week. He allowed. I think he only threw for like 100 and some yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, no nothing. They did run the ball. I think it was like 63 yards. Madison had. So they did have they ran the ball for over 100 yards last week. But I think we take advantage of their offensive situation that's going on right now. I think Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard and Hilton and those guys, I think they're going to get their opportunities to sack, make Mullins turn over the ball, throw some passes that he shouldn't throw. And like I said, Jake Browning on our end, he's been playing fairly well, and I believe against the rush right now, he's actually has like a 138 QBR rating against the blitz. So he's actually doing fairly well.
That's a great shout out because Minnesota does like the blitz.
Yeah. So we are going against Hunter and the boys. So there's that defense, and hopefully Jake can be quick and make decisions fast, and our offensive line stays in protects him.
I dig it. Justin, we'll shoot it over to you. What is the biggest opportunities you see here for the Bengals going up against the Vikings?
All right, so the biggest opportunity that I have is obviously on the defensive side of the ball, to where you can actually pressure the quarterback at a relentless level and a relentless pace, sort of like we did with the Indianapolis Colts. I would have loved to us to have gotten more sacks on Gardner Minshew, but at the end of the day, you can't go wrong with how that defense performed on this past Sunday. With this being a relatively shorter week on a Saturday, which I agree. I like the Saturday 1 o'clock game too. It just feels like that it'll just give you a nice fresh start to the weekend. You can sort of just chill, relax on Sunday, assuming the Bengals handle business and win the game. But that's where I believe that the opportunity speaks volume for me. When I look at this Minnesota Vikings team in its totality, I kind of attribute it to more of how I looked at the Colts last week before us playing them. That they're a team that has some overachievement, battled through a lot of adversity. Obviously losing Kirk Cousins hurt for them, but they were able to rebound with a nice story with Josh Dobbs coming in at the last second to start and throw a game-winning touchdown for them. There was a lot of hoopla about that early on, but then you can kind of see that magic sort of waned and kind of ran out. We went against Josh Dobbs when he played for the Cardinals, so it's not like that was going to be new territory if he was the named starter. But Nick Mullins is actually your premier game manager as a backup to third string quarterback, as what people most know him. I think that I mean, I think that he last, from what I last remembered him playing, was for the Cleveland Browns in 2021 as a third string quarterback to then Baker Mayfield, and to Case Keenum. Nick Mullins just falls right into that category of what kind of quarterback style of play that you're looking at. And there is opportunity to where you can pressure him a lot. And Trey Hendrickson is having a great team, one hell of a great season. 2 sacks, almost 3 sacks, and a forced fumble. But that's where I feel like that's the biggest opportunity. And we'll obviously get more into the Vikings as a matchup. But that, to answer the question straight up, the defensive side of the ball for the Bengals can provide the most opportunity for us to win this game, instead more of the offensive side for me when I just look at it in its totality.
I agree with both of you, and you look at what we do well versus what they have done poorly, and you look at, again, you're on your fourth quarterback, so that's always going to be a concern. And looking more at that, obviously if they're top 5 in rush defense, top 5 in top 10 in pass defense, and they're in that literally bottom in scoring defense, that to me has to be turnovers, right? It has to be short fields. It's got to be bad special teams play and turnovers. So we're still a very opportunistic defense, no matter how many yards we give up every week. And last week was probably one of our better defensive performances to date as far as yardage goes. And we're tied for second in the league in turnover differential. I think that's where the opportunity is. I think we're gonna, I would say, force the hand here with some turnovers, win that turnover battle, win this game. Foreshadowing to who I'm going to give a game ball to, but we'll get to that later. So let's go. Let's throw it back. What are your concerns then for this Minnesota Vikings team, Justin? What do you see here that you think we need to be aware of going in?
So, as the biggest opportunity that I brought up about the Bengals defense against their offense, I'm also going to use that as our concern too, as well. And the reason why I say that is because Justin Jefferson, he's a top guy at the wide receiver position. And quite frankly, you don't have CTB out there yet. I love that Cheeto is coming into his own. He's starting to feel like that he's playing with that confidence like he had the last few years before he got that injury.
Definitely.
And I like to see him. I love seeing him playing out there. But at the end of the day, you weren't going against Justin Jefferson every week, my man's like Justin Jefferson, even though he's coming back from his injury. I think he suffered a chest injury that he didn't play the rest of the game last week. But that's still Jettis. And it's like going against Jamar over here. So that's the number one concern that I have. However, their defense also gives me a little bit of concern too, not because of the names that they have on a roster there. I know that they have Daniel Hunter, who's similar to Trey Hendrickson. He was well on his way of having a one hell of a year where he could have been the candidate for Defensive Player of the Year had the Vikings continued their success. But he sort of waned off a bit. You still got guys like Harrison Smith. I'm looking at their roster right now on the defense side of the ball. I don't really love their corners. Byron Murphy Jr., Andrew Booth, Caleb Evans, Mekhi Blackman. They don't really have the name recognition for me to feel like that. Oh my gosh, I need to watch out for those. But that's the problem, because Brian Flores is their defensive coordinator, and he's showed his time as a head coach with the Dolphins, obviously, most notably, but just this past year with the Pittsburgh Steelers under Mike Tomlin as a special defensive coordinator assistant or linebackers coach, whatever that title he was doing. But at the end of the day, he has generated a lot of pressure for that team, and it makes it really tough to move the ball on. And if you're the Bengals offense, as much as we like Jake Browning, this game could turn into a dogfight if you don't take advantage of the early stages against their defense of being able to stay a step ahead. And I think that if you allow them to get off with and play with confidence, it's going to be a long day for you. So those are my two concerns: Justin Jefferson on offense, and then our matchup against their fast-paced, moving attitude on defense.
And Justin Jefferson, whether they say it or not, but him and Jamar Chase going up against each other, they're both going to
want to go off. They're going to want to put up numbers. Yeah, that's
they're
going to be
both going to want to show off. They want to prove who's better in those two, and that's never going to change. It's never going to go away. Tim, what concerns do you have going into Saturday with this Vikings team?
It's going to be the Vikings defense. They haven't allowed any touchdowns in the last 2 games. Last week, they had 3 turnovers. They didn't get them many points, but they still forced 3 turnovers.
No one deserved to win that game last week.
No. And then with Hunter, and then with Hunter's an elite, pass, or, an elite defender. He's got 13.5 sacks right now. So, I know he didn't have any last week, but he still has 13.5 sacks, as many as Trey Hendrickson does with 13.5 sacks. So that pass rush is what, is my biggest concern. Like I said, that defense has not allowed any touchdowns in 2 games. So it could be definitely a chess match between the defense and the offense when it comes to this game on Saturday. Definitely.
Yeah, I similar to what you guys said. Obviously there's defense concerns. Giving up sacks, that's a big concern. But I'm going to go a little bit. I'm going to zig here instead of zag. Our defense has not played well all season against tight ends. We need to change that. This game has to be, Justin Jefferson's easy to get enamored with, hugely talented, one of the best wide receivers in the league, no doubt. But TJ Hockenson is a very good tight end, and we're going to have to make sure we don't lose that level of concern with him just because we're paying attention. Because I could see him paying attention to Jefferson, because I could see him becoming that security blanket for Mullins, and that could be an issue over the middle. So we need to make sure that we play good team defense and get some help over there. I'd like to see some safeties lining up on him. And how about get DJ Ivy out there again? That was fun to see. I appreciated that. So, again, those are the concerns. It's a good matchup. We're going to go into everybody's favorite, the offensive and defensive game balls. But after the break, we're going to take a look at, now that we're in a dogfight with some of these teams for positioning in the wild card, we're going to take a look at some of those matchups and how they affect us, and give you some predictions on that. So real quick, obviously we're sticking it out here. We didn't go get Skyline. We didn't order food yet. So take a quick second during this break, like, subscribe, share us with a friend. We appreciate all you guys listening. You have to understand how this game works, though. Those algorithms on those thumbs up and all those things help us immensely. Over the past week, podcasts that I'm on have thousands of views and only about 150 likes. So take a quick second, just smash that thumbs up for us. We appreciate it very much. We'll be right back. All right, we are back with Running Through the Jungle. I'm your host, Brandon Herriott. You will often hear me referred to as B Dirt. Tim Lyons in the house, and Justin Lacey holding it down in the 513. We appreciate all you guys listening to us. Talking about our favorite team, Cincinnati Bengals. So we are going to give you a little glimpse in here to some of the other matchups that will affect us here as we're fighting for our playoff lives. And a couple of them here are on Saturdays with us. So we're going to do that Saturday's lineup, a big one here. And I'm just going to flip this over to Justin. We got the Steelers at the Colts. I'm gonna give you some lines here so you know who the favorite is. The Colts are actually favored at home by 1.5 points. What's your take on this game, Justin?
As a betting man, I'm staying away from this game because that seemed like a coin flip game that I do not want to have no parts into. The game is at home for the Indianapolis Colts, I believe. If I think you already mentioned that, but
Yep.
the Pittsburgh Steelers is not performing very well on offense, and the last 2 weeks obviously just insinuates that look they've lost to two separate 2-10 ball clubs, and they're just looking like they're just a wheel that has finally just reached its peak, and then everything is kind of just coming off for them. However, I feel like that this is the classic Mike Tomlin bounce back performance for them. It's not going to be a pretty win, just like usual, even with the injuries that they have on the depth chart. And I know it may not be a popular opinion, but I am going to think that the Pittsburgh Steelers somehow, some way, against all odds, find a way to pull out an ugly, stinking 13-11 win or something because that's just what they do. But however, if they don't win, which obviously can happen too, then that just tells me that Mike Tomlin's message is going stale at this point. And quite frankly, they may want to try to see not fire Mike Tomlin. I'm not going to go down in that rabbit hole, but I think that Pittsburgh do pull off a classic rebound before losing to the Bengals the following week.
Yeah, I can tell you I live in Pittsburgh, for those of you who don't know that, so I'm behind enemy lines here, and I can tell you local radio, hilarious to listen to this past week. Um, there's a couple of different big name, uh, like popular sports radio guys here in town that are calling for Tomlin's job. The fun stat that I've been I've been seeing out of there, yeah, he's 17 straight winning seasons. Only won playoff games in 4 of those 17 seasons, though. So that's it's not a good stat. It's not the stat you want
Absolutely not.
to sprinkle down around out here. Yeah, if you are a gambling person, again, I'll reference Pay Dirt. Go check that out. Under 42.5 points. The under has come through in all but 2 of the Steelers games this year. I just blindly bet it every week. Quarterback play right now in Pittsburgh, not very good.
Not great at
Uh,
all.
So I'm gonna give this one actually over to my friend here, Tim. Again, a Saturday game. This is gonna be the night game. The Broncos, who are ahead of us in that position right now, go to the Lions, and the Lions are 4-point favorites to bounce back here. Tim, what do you think about this game?
Well, the Lions just got, they just got beat by the Bears last week, wasn't it?
Mollywopped.
Yeah. And they're 4-2 at home in the games at home. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna stay away from that. Saying that I say the Lions will win, but I don't think that they'll cover.
So you got a field goal game here.
Yeah, I don't think they'll cover because, honestly, those games that they did lose, they shouldn't have lost. They shouldn't have lost those games. And with the Broncos, the Broncos and Russ, they're battling, and 1 minute Russ is out there throwing for 300 and some yards, and sometimes they're winning and sometimes they're losing. He threw that interception in the end zone against the Texans, I think it was. So Russ is Russ. I live in Seattle. I know about Russell Wilson. I've watched him play through his whole career here. His release is slower, his decision maker a little bit slower. But the Broncos have a hell of a defense. They're playing well. They're playing really good. I think every time I watch them on TV, they're causing a turnover. But then again, they're playing against Detroit, in Detroit, against Jared Goff and Ahmad St. Brown, and they got that little Gibbs dude. That Gibbs dude, he's a rocket flying out of the backfield. So, and then of course, they have Hutchinson from Michigan, hell of a defender. I'm gonna say the Lions win, but they don't cover the spread.
Yeah, Hutchins is a badass. I love that guy. If you For those of you who don't know, top corner right there, that 7 that you see in that frame, that's a signed Hutchinson jersey, actually. So, I'm looking through these games, right? Jets at Dolphins has, can the Jets claw back into it? That's an 8.5-point favorite. I don't think anybody expects them to pull off that upset. Even though Zach Wilson did have his best game as a pro last week. The next one in division here game, the Bears go to Cleveland, and Cleveland's a 3-point favorite. I kind of want to root against the Bears here because Big G picked the Bears to win 3 straight games on the Homies podcast on Friday nights. If you guys don't watch that, you should definitely check it out. That's a Steel Curtain Network. You can come on there and watch me poke the bear over there. It's a good time. I wore a Please Pray For Me, I'm Petty shirt last week, so that was a good time. I honest to God, I think Delpit is now hurt and out for the Browns. They've got a couple injuries on D, where I think the Bears are good at running the ball between the tackles is something I think now is going to, especially with the safety out, I think it's going to be a little bit more open there because Delpit's a very physical safety. So I think they take a step back there and they stay away from Myles Garrett because of that. And I mean, Myles is a freak of nature, but Justin Fields is mobile too. So he's going to have his work cut out for him chasing that guy down. So I think the Bears can pull the upset off here.
I can actually see that too, honestly. I really can.
I'll be rooting for him. That's for darn sure.
So let me ask you a question, though. So I know in the past you've been picking the Bears to win these games and you've been failing miserably. What's your record when you pick the Bears to win?
Who? I don't even pick the Bears, dude. I haven't picked the Bears for.
Well, I'm just saying because I know there was a couple weeks.
I don't.
Well, I know there was a couple weeks you did pick the Bears because I listened to it on Pay Dirt.
Not that week. Not that week.
Well, I personally want to say that when it comes to the Bears, personally, they pulled off the upset last week, and that's large part because they just give Detroit a great fight all the time when they play each other. The last time they played each other wasn't even that close of a win, I believe, for the Lions, and it was just bound to happen. So, as much as I want to go with the upset, Chicago over Cleveland, man. Cleveland's again a lot like Pittsburgh. They're kind of unraveling at the wrong time too. DeJuan Jones is now out for the season. Their star rookie stud right tackle. Like you said, you just mentioned Grant Delpit. Joe Flacco has sort of rejuvenated their spirits at quarterback, but I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of think Flacco will turn into a pumpkin at some point. He always just throws these back-breaking interceptions, and he just hasn't really played the right team yet to where you can sort of see that. And this does have the makings for an upset, but yeah.
And Brandon, I don't think you picked the Bears on Pay Dirt. I think it was on the Homies when you were doing.
Oh well, that's because they make me pick those games. I don't.
Okay,
that's a.
Okay. Well, we won't count those then.
That's a coin toss. So that's a good point. Like, so when you look at, we do all the picks on Homies overtime, and those aren't games I would bet. You know what I mean? Like those are just randomly given to me. Games that I think I would bet, I dive into those a lot more. Those things are just on the spot. You pick this game. I don't know. So it's a whole different ball game. That's the reason why Tate does better than me on that particular show.
Well, I'm going to give you props though, because on Pay Dirt, I know my brother, he listens to you guys religiously every week. And when he hits gold, he tells me, "Hey man, I just cashed out $1,000 and all this other stuff." So you guys are doing great over at Pay Dirt. So guys, will watch Pay Dirt, listen to Pay Dirt on Spotify, Google or Apple Podcasts. Watch them on YouTube. They know their stuff. I'm not a gambling man because here in Washington, we can't use DraftKings and all that stuff. We actually have to go to the casino and set our bets. And I'm not
no,
doing all
thank
that.
I
you.
was there.
No,
I was
thank
there.
you.
I'm glad that this sports gambling in Ohio is now legal. So
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, we got the Texans at the Titans is an interesting game.
It certainly
the
is.
Titans
Yeah.
are favored by 3 now.
What?
CJ Stroud is in concussion protocol, so we don't know what we're getting there. Nico Collins is now out. Tank Dell is out for the rest of the season.
Yep.
Some of the weapons definitely down for Houston right now, so it'll be interesting to see what they do there. Justin, what's your take on this Sunday night game? I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. We got the Ravens going to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a 3-point home dog. What do you think about that game?
Well, I know what the public thinks that you should think about that game is fear the Ravens. They're the Baltimore Ravens. They're crowning them right now as to being the best team in the AFC.
83% of money bet on DraftKings right now is on the Ravens.
I feel like that's the case. However, this is that classic trap game to where if you feel like that you should bet the Ravens, you may lose some money here. Because I watched the Ravens too when they played the Rams, and I was not really super impressed with how they performed. I was impressed with Lamar Jackson, yes, but I was not impressed with anything else regarding that team outside of maybe OBJ and the running game too, obviously because they're the number one ranked rushing team in football. So Jacksonville is coming off of 2 straight losses. They had the opportunity of their lifetime on Monday night against the Bengals to play for playoff positioning to take over the number 1 seed. And honestly, they just fell right through the cracks. And then with Cleveland, they had an opportunity late in that ball game to seal off a win, but it was just coaching and decision making just did not pan out to their liking. Trevor Lawrence is just forced throws just relentlessly. He had 3 or 4 turnovers. He just didn't play his best game. I know what the public wants you to think, but personally, I'm actually going to call the upset here, and Jacksonville is going to win this game against the Ravens. That's where I think this is going to go. And it's not me as a Bengals fan, my rooting interest will obviously be rooting for the Ravens to lose. But no, it's just really just shining the light that Jacksonville is not dead. And I know people want you to write them off after losing 2 straight games against 2 pretty good AFC North teams themselves. But this should be a bounce back effort for them to where it's like, okay, the pressure should be off of them. They shouldn't have to be coming in here with this angst right now. They haven't shown that they can really compete up to with the big boys, the elites of the league. They got to show that. And I think, and maybe Trevor Lawrence injury had a little to do as well too. But I just got this funny feeling that Jacksonville goes into this game knowing that it's all or nothing right here. They do not want to see their division rivals like Houston come up their ladder and steal that division crown away from them. And then they'll be able to put some distance if they go out there and win this game instead of hoping for other teams to lose. So that's where I'm going. Jacksonville over Baltimore.
Jacksonville, the past couple games, one against us and one against the Browns. Again, this is where I go back to problems that we've had, early on in the season. ETN, 14 carries in one game and 11 in the other.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be more balanced on offense.
Oh, absolutely.
And I know he's been a little dinged up, with a chest injury, whatever, but it's that time of year, man. You got to run the ball. So especially against Baltimore.
I think on that game on Sunday night, they're going to be running the ball a little bit more, probably on both sides. They said it's supposed to be a light rain and 17-mile-per-hour winds that night. So it could be a ground game. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, Tim. We're going to stick with you here, buddy. Everybody's favorite section. The segment of the show that gets the most clamoring. We're going to predict offensive and defensive game balls and score predictions. Tim, what you got on this offensive game ball?
I have Chase Brown written down.
Ooh.
I think we were playing against the Vikings, and of course, we're going to give a lot of our a lot of our handoffs are always to Joe Mixon. But I think when Chase comes in there, he's going to have a little bit different opportunities. They're going to think that he's going to go for a screen pass or a run. People really don't know what they're going to get with Chase because it could be a screen, like I said, a screen or a run. Same thing with Mixon. It could be a screen or a run. You know, I I just have this feeling this week it's going to go to Chase Brown. I think Chase Brown's going to go in there. He's going to get his hundo for the game, receiving and rushing, and he's going to get a touchdown. Chase Brown's my offensive game ball.
All right. Who you got on defense?
My defensive game ball is going to go to the Cincinnati kid. He's going to get 1.5 sacks, a couple tackles for losses, and have 8 tackles completely.
All right. So we've got Sam Hubbard getting on a sack board, and that would put your score prediction as
24-10, the Bengals.
I dig it. I dig it. And might be similarly close to you on that one. All right, we're going to cut over here. Justin, who you got for your offensive game ball?
Well, I got Chase too. I just got Jamar Chase. I'm going Uno. This is the game where he needs to show out, and he's going to be well on his way to breaking that catch record by TJ Hushmanzada for 112. You got Justin Jefferson on across the other side of the field. That's your brother. That's your homie. That's your day one. You played ball together. You went against each other in week 1 in 2021. You coming in a jungle here. You can't let you can't let him show you up in your own house. So Uno is going to be the one for me that's getting the game ball prediction for me. As far as the defense go, I'm actually going to go. I'm going to go with some names here, man. Some household names. Trey Hendrickson he should have been in the conversation. I brought this earlier in the season. He should have been in the conversation for defensive player of the year based on how he's been performing. And he's up there with the best of the best at 13.5 sacks. And I think that he adds on to that and also gets a strip sack fumble. Because let me just ask a quick question. Who's really taking over the defensive player of the year award right now? Who's leading the game right now? I don't know. I mean, Deron Bland for the Cowboys. It ain't Nick Bosa for the 49ers. It's not Fred Warner. You could talk about Myles Garrett and TJ Watt all you want to. It seems like those are the two big names that get all the hype. Max Crosby along with it too. But let's just be honest here. How are their teams in that defense has been performing lately? It's really sort of hit this stuck in the mud kind of neutral zone right now to where anybody can really go out there and really take this award. And Trey Hendrickson is quietly having that kind of season too, but nobody wants to get that respect on his name. So I'm going with him as my defensive game ball prediction. I think he finishes this season out as one of the top guys to get sacks. And I think that you might see his name up there when it's all said and done for TBS Defensive Player of the Year. I'm not saying he's going to probably get it, but he should be in the conversation. My score prediction. This could be the classic trap game too for the Bengals, but I'm not obviously going to predict the Bengals to lose this game because I'm seeing what the Vikings have put on tape. And there was a one point in the season where they won 5 straight games. And I look at the opponents that they went against. Their big win everybody talks about, and I watched that game, was against the 49ers before we played them and dominated them. But the last 2 weeks, the reason why they have their defensive output the way they did with a 3-0 win against the Aiden O'Connell Raiders that have absolutely nothing to play with. And then the week before, where I believe that they won 12-10 against another lowly team. I don't even remember who that team was, to be perfectly honest with you. I just know that they wasn't really barking no noise. The Bears. It was against the Bears. It just doesn't feel like to me that this Vikings team, while they can shock anybody on any given day, anybody in this league can be shocked at any given day. Hell, the Pittsburgh Steelers know by losing to 2 separate 2-10 teams. I'm not going with the Bengals this time. They're playing just too damn good football. They're playing like a connected group. And I think that they understand the task at hand is that people have wrote this team off, and they're not about having them, live up to those failed expectations just because Joe Burrow is out. Now, I'm not saying we're going to go 34 points again like the last 2 weeks, but I will say we do hit the mid-20s. I'm going to go 23-13 13 Bengals.
All right, I dig it. Yeah, I tell you what, I did. Jamar Chase did get some consideration from me as well for offensive game ball. Trey Hendrickson always gets consideration for me for the defensive game ball, but I went a little bit outside of the box for me. This is more of a Tim Lyons pick here for offensive game ball. I think Mixon gets his first 100-yard rush. I think he's going to get 100 yards and a touchdown this week. So I'm looking forward to it. Give the man the ball. Defensive game ball. I'm going to go double-digit tackles here, and I'm going to say with an overthrown pass, getting his first NFL interception, I'm taking Jordan Battle.
I like it.
I think he's gonna get his first pick here. I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot of crossing. They like to throw deep crossing routes to Justin Jefferson. I think Nick Mullins is not not a established. I mean, was he 5-13? I think all-time record. He's decent backup, but not. He's just not Kirk Cousins. I think he's going to miss one high, and Jordan Battle gets a pick there. And let me give us my score predictions. I'm giving the Vikings a chance here to score a few more points just because Justin Jefferson being back, and I think he's going to show off. And our corners have given up some big plays here or there, so I'm going to go 28-20. I think we pull it off, but I think it's going to be a 28-20 game, and the over hits there. So that's where I'm at. So I'm going to have to apologize if anybody can hear that in the background. I don't know. My dog is whining because he wants out of the crate. He can hear Dad's voice, and the lady's not home. So I think he's bringing this to a close.
He's going to get some love and attention. So, hey, we appreciate him.
Listen, the dogs run the house around here. That's for sure.
Amen.
That's for sure. I got 2 Frenchies and a German Shepherd mix, and they're awesome. We got a pretty awesome pack around here. So, well, hey, that does it for this edition of Running Through the Jungle. We appreciate you rocking with us again. If you haven't hit that like, subscribe, share that with some friends, please do so. And let's Saturday game. Let's watch it. We'll have a reactions game, Roaring Reactions episode on a Saturday. How about that? That'll be kind of fun.
I'm excited for that. Yeah. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. We'll do it halftime of the following game. So it should be a good one. And check us out next week as we are running through the jungle.